Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me is my buddy John Taylor. John, how we doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Josh. How you doing?
Oh, I'm just doing fantastic here in Milwaukee, having lots of fun. We're going to start today's episode talking about the Brew Crew. Episode 1 was all Packers, and we'll talk a little Packers. But the Brewers are doing some stuff. They are magic numbers down to 8 for the division. They are 4-6 in their last 10. Not a fan of that. But, I mean, it seems like, knock on all the wood, they're coming away with the division. That's going to happen. And now we're looking ahead to how far are they going to make it this time?
There's like
your thoughts.
There's like a 99% chance the Brewers are going to take the NL Central. I got to be honest. There's no magic number for me. The only magic number is how do we close the gap on the Dodgers to get a wild card or out of the wild card round?
Let me bring that up here. How many games behind the Dodgers are we?
Well,
let me see. So 4 games back of the Dodgers at the time that we're doing this podcast.
Yep. Yeah.
With 17 to play, 17 games to play.
A lot of time, it's going to be tough. But that's the race I'm really concerned about. But to go back to your original question, I think the Central is pretty well firmed up. I think the Cubs, I just don't see how they come back on 8 games. No. I don't see this Brewers team detonating in that way. I think that detonation would have happened months and months ago. Our pitching rotation is more solidified now than it was when we were in a dogfight for the division.
Can we just talk about that for a second? What this team has been? I mean, obviously nationally, the Brewers were never supposed to be the favorite for the division. And it seemed like now without Counsell, everyone thinking, myself included for a little bit, but Counsell was the reason why they kept finding ways to win. And then there was no Counsell, and they kept finding ways to win, which is great.
And then you put Craig in Chicago, and he only found ways to lose.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, for one, love that. But also, now just seeing how Murph has just crushed it with this team and getting these young guys where they need to be and playing the way they need to. And here's my biggest takeaway so far. And this is a nervous thing for me to say because of who I am, especially as a baseball fan. But I've always said with this Brewers team, the Brewers keep bites of the apple. You find way. Oh God, and I hate that, but that's their whole mantra. You keep getting bites of the apple, chances in the postseason to make a run, and then they don't. And the Brewers keep getting eliminated in the first round. And it's like you played this whole summer, and it was great, and you were so proud of this team, and then it becomes nothing. And I've always said I just want this team to be hot at the right time. Right now, in September, they're not hot. They're 4-6 in their last 10. That's not hot, right? You can't say that like they went on a huge run to get 8.5 games up in the division. That is not how they've done it. They have 17 games left. If in like a week, maybe a week and a half, they turned it on, I would be really excited. If like this is finally like the Brewers have put themselves in a chance to where they didn't have to like win a whole lot. They had a comfortable lead and now get hot at the right time and go through everybody. Because look, John, I understand what you're saying about chasing the Dodgers and you don't want to be a wild card team, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. But we've seen in the past that it's not about home field advantage. It's not about any of this stuff with baseball. It's what team is the hot team at that time. That's how the Diamondbacks got there. I mean, the Diamondbacks were this huge, what the hell is even happening? Question mark. And I just, if the Brewers could be that team to where everyone's looking at them like, well, they won the division. They have a young guy. They have some pieces. But if it all comes together and is clicking like we've seen glimpses of throughout the season, oh, daddy, this team might have a chance.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm right there with you. I throw out all of the stats at the end of the day. If the Brewers bats aren't on, there's not much to be done in the postseason. I talk about this with buddies all the time. We went into how many playoff appearances over the last 5 years? Craig Counsell, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, the most dominant pitching staff in all of baseball, top to bottom, including the bullpen. And what did it get us? Bounced.
Nothing.
You're not enough. Because I think, truthfully, in the playoffs, there's a bit of a hitter's advantage. Everything is so razor thin margins for error for pitching. And elite pitchers can still make mistakes, and elite hitters can punish you for it. And, it's the job of a pitcher to be flawless all the time. It's the job of a hitter to be good every third opportunity,
Right.
exactly. So, I think this year specifically, I think we have pieces that the other Brewers teams of the last 5 years just didn't have. I think Rhys Hoskins, listen, he's not, we were hoping we were going to sign Rhys to a prove it deal, and he was going to prove it, and he was going to be on his merry way. The way he's playing right now, I'm not convinced he doesn't come back next year. Willie Adames is giving us maybe the best swan song of a Brewer's career, I think I've ever seen, which I don't
It's
want
sad.
to, I don't want to pick that wound too hard, but when you recently tied Ken Griffey Jr. for the most 3-run homers in a season at 13, like, that's exciting. It's a weird stat, but I mean, it's never bad when Willie's putting 3 on the board, So, William Contreras, last year people said, hey, yeah, he's good. Yeah, of course the Brewers are doing it again with making mediocre catchers like defensive savants, but the dude can rake, and there was MVP chatter before the All-Star break, and he dipped a little bit, but he's back and he's hitting. And I mean, what more can you say about Jackson Chourio?
I mean, Chourio is been in the second half. He's been the most impressive player on the team, I guess, besides maybe Willie. But I mean, this young kid is stepped up, and you look at in the beginning of the year too, how many people were like, you know what, this might have been a mistake. This might have been a mistake. Maybe it's just too early. It's too early. Send him back down. AAA needs to get some at bats. Blah blah. Now no one's having that conversation. If they are, they'll get the hell out. It makes you're no longer a part of the conversation if that's your take. So super happy with how Chourio's doing. That being said, this team still doesn't have the firepower when you're putting things up next to the Dodgers and next to some of these teams that they have to get by to go all the way, unless they get hot. And so I will always go back to that because, and I know I've had this conversation with a ton of people of it doesn't really matter. That's the beauty of baseball. If you get to the postseason, it's anyone's game. Anyone has a chance. You just have to be that hot team. And it seems like for too long, the Brewers have been on the opposite side, right? How long have teams that beat the Brewers gone to the World Series? Isn't it like the last 4 or 5, something crazy of these teams that once they eliminate the Brewers, they go on to at least make it to the World Series? And I'm like, I'm done with this good luck Chuck stuff. You know what I mean? Let's be the team that gets there. And which is why at this point, weird for me to say, but I'm not freaking out about this team because I'm like, it's okay for you to be in a dip right now. Figure it out in the next week or so and then get hot. Have a little bit of fire under you going into the playoffs, turn it on and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird balance. I feel from the team. I think they're really young, clearly one of the youngest teams in baseball. All of their talent, besides a select few, are between the ages of 21 and 25. This was supposed to be a punt year. And it wasn't. They're finding really creative ways. They're figuring out ways to really exploit their athleticism. And obviously the Brewers do not draft players who can't play defense, and so that comes across in spades when you watch this team play. But they need to get hot. Something like this is probably an outdated stat at this point, but I'm pretty sure the Brewers have started 13, could be up to 16 different pitchers.
Yeah.
The last time I checked it was 13. It's just like and
it wasn't even like that was a long time ago. Within the last couple of games, there's been a new pitcher on the mound that I'm like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
They're still doing that. Obviously,
Yeah.
when you get into the postseason, you know that changes, but that's been the recipe
Yeah.
all season.
I guess my thought was they've done a lot of really creative things to eke out wins and find ways to win, you know? And I feel like within the last couple of weeks, what we've seen is I think they're starting to shift that energy of we're going to make the playoffs. So we need to start thinking about rest. We need to start thinking about the positions we're putting these guys in. There's conversations about psyche and do we want to give these guys the yips in, not uncertain terms, but I just like, I see like them playing a safer brand of baseball. Like they're so worried they're going to fall.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like that.
No, me neither. I mean,
You can't be that way, especially when you're this young.
Yep.
Because these guys don't know
what they don't
happens
know
next.
Yeah,
Right.
they don't know what they don't know.
And there's very little veteran presence of guys who can say, no, this is fine, because then when you get to this point, X will happen. Like, no, you got to just keep running, keep the pedal to the metal, just keep going through all of it, and just hope that it turns on at the right time. I mean, we'll see. Like we said, 17 games left. Magic number is 8 to get the division, which is always great. You know, I still love that, even if that's where it ends. But man, it would be so good. It would be so good to, obviously it'd be great to win a World Series, but I'm saying to even just get to the CS, right? Just get out of the wild card round, have something happen in the divisional round, get a little bit further to just show, hey, look, everything we heard about it needing to be Counsell, you can throw that right out.
Yeah.
You know, we got rid of Counsell, and the new guy, who's really the old guy, got us further than Counsell did right away. Boom. First year, suck it. Oh, I'd love that. I'd love that so much.
I mean, I would too. You know, I'm 35 years old and I've never seen them in a World Series appearance, you know, and I know a lot of people way longer than that. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I love the Brewers. I worked at the stadium at Fridays for 8 years. I was there when CC Sabathia threw a no-hitter and it got robbed from him. I was there when Carlos Zambrano threw one against the Cubs had to come down. So it's like, I've been, the playoffs when we were playing the Phillies, that was electric. I'll never forget bailing on my tables for an hour and a half when we clinched that playoff berth in 2008. Like I really do love this team. And, the bites at the apple thing, what do you expect with this? We have to give them credit for what they did. It's like, well, at the end of the day, you guys did enough stuff to make me think that we could go win a World Series. So sorry that's my new expectation. I want to see this team go compete legitimately. And I come back to.
Did you really think that though? Did you really think at the beginning of this year?
No,
that this team,
absolutely not.
Okay,
no, but they showed it so early. They showed that there was something about this team. They went and got Rhys Hoskins. They signed Jackson.
Did nothing for me.
I was very excited about it.
Signing Hoskins for me was okay, cool. So maybe he ends up being a guy. That'd be great.
At the time, he was one of the best first base options, especially when you're talking about
available. Yeah,
it was easily the best thing the Brewers could have gotten. So it's like it's like the Bucks trading for Damian Lillard. I was like, well, that's a dream.
Nothing like trading for Damian Lillard.
It's exactly what they needed. Josh.
Okay, that is. Rhys Hoskins getting signed in comparison to Damian Lillard being back in Milwaukee. It was absolutely ridiculous.
It was like the Milwaukee Bucks signing Taurean Prince. It's exactly what they needed.
Okay. No,
it's their stretch four. So I'm losing the metaphor. But
yes, you are.
My real point is this. The Brewers did some interesting things that showed a philosophy change. That because Counsell wasn't here, they were willing to try different strategies. The elite pitching thing didn't work. And so you sacrifice some of the pitching and you bring in talent other places. Joey Ortiz, Garrett Mitchell he's boomer bust, but if he gets hot, there's a reason why they can't quit him. Sal's having a bit of a down year, but I mean, I don't know. I just think there's enough guys up and down this lineup. Blake Perkins, for crying out loud, looks like a all-star center fielder, but we'll see.
I'm sitting here going, if I had to analyze what the Brewers are going to be up against in the postseason, I'm still worried about pitching, right? I've been worried about pitching all year. That's been my number one concern is starting pitching. I think that's been the biggest thing to analyze all season has been starting pitching. Their starting pitchers have found a way to win games, and this team has found a way to win games. There's no one on this pitching staff that I would tell you, well, good luck when that guy's on the mound. Not one person. And so I expect this team to give up a few runs in the postseason. I'm not expecting this to be if the Brewers are winning these games, I'm not expecting them to win games 3-1. They're going to win games like 6-4. And that's uncommon for what we usually see in postseason play. But if they're going to do it, that's going to be the way they do it because that's what they have for pitching. That does worry me. But if this team can get hot, then I think that could happen. Then you could see these young guys getting to the opponent pitchers and getting past the weakness of our starting pitching, which isn't awful, by the way. It's not like we have terrible starting pitching. We just don't have high caliber postseason starting pitchers.
There isn't an ace on this staff.
Right.
I think Freddie unfortunately showed this year. At the end of last year when Woodruff went out and it seemed obvious that Corbin wasn't coming back, I said, you got to give Freddie a shot. He looked, as a third starter, absolutely electric. And there's a reason why he looks super electric as the third starter. I think there's velo concerns. There's been questionable pitch choices. It seems like some moments get too big for him. He is going to be the game one starter of any playoff series. And I mean, he has to be, but I've heard on Brewers Twitter, other media outlets talking about should Freddie be the one to start with Colin Ray pitching the way he is, the way Tobias Myers has been a revelation. And at the end of the day, the Brewers have full trust and faith in Freddie Peralta. And I think they should be. I think the big difference is, like you said, we do not have I'm going to go out and pitch 6 shutout innings for you, and the bats can go over, and we can leave 16 runners in scoring position, and we'll still win a game in the bottom of the ninth. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, I think they're clearly, if we want to talk about the pitching rotation, I think they're going to have to shrink it. I think originally when they got Montas, the way he was pitching, Frankie Montas from the Reds, seemed pretty obvious that he was always going to be a long middle reliever in these playoffs. I think he's pitching well enough to maybe be the fourth guy in this lineup. Savale has
Isn't that crazy though? That's what I'm saying. We don't even know at this point. Like, when was the last time the Brewers were essentially a lock to win the division, and we couldn't sit here and say who the starting rotation was going to be for the postseason?
Yeah.
Maybe not the positions of who was going to start, but who were going to be the 5 men. Like,
well, that's my point. I don't think there's going to be a 5-person. I don't think until it gets to the longer series. I think they're going to run a shorter rotation, just the way the travel shakes out, and you can put a lot of these, a lot of the back end talent of our pitching rotation right now into the bullpen, and I think that makes them a lot scarier. I think it's very obvious that the bullpen and relief pitching is what's carrying this team in terms of pitching. And I think if you can bolster that with a DL Hall being back, you bolster that with an Aaron Ashby call-up who looks absolutely nasty coming back from AAA.
Yep.
If Montas, I think, like I said, it seemed like a no-brainer that he would be a relief pitcher going into the playoffs. But, if he's the fourth and they move Savale in a position like that, so be it, But, yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we really will.
10 of the last 17 games will be home games as well. So, that's exciting, being able to hopefully, Murph has talked a lot to the press about how this team feeds off of the energy. And I know that coaches like to say that a lot, but, I, as a fan, I always buy in, and I'm like, damn right. All right, get loud. I mean, even if he's just saying it to say it, what does it hurt to get there and get loud? So I like the fact that we're ending the season at home, and that, we have 10 of the last 13 are at home.
We still have, we've got 3 against the Phillies still too. So
yes, those are the first 3 after this upcoming weekend series with the
Diamondbacks. So get hot, find some confidence, prove that you can hang. Because the other narrative that, this team can beat up a bad Central, but they can't hang with the big boys in the NL. It's just like, give me a break.
I feel like it's been the opposite. I feel like this team has thrown away and pissed away games to teams that they should have beat, and then take 2 of 3 against teams that they, according to the national pundits, were never supposed to be in. That's I feel like they've done that more, which is great. At this point, keep playing that way.
Yeah.
Because those are the big boys that you're going to have to worry about in October.
I mean, unfortunately, we already lost. I mean, to that point, we've already lost the head-to-head tiebreaker to the Phillies because they took our lunch money twice in the beginning of the season. I think we got swept by the Dodgers. There were some of the only times early in the season we got swept. So, we're more competitive now. That's my point. It's just like it's a 162 game season. So when people make decisions about this team in May and are unwilling to move off them, it drives me crazy. I think, but I think the Brewers are in a really interesting and exciting spot. And to just go back to your original point, they got to get hot.
They got to get hot. They got to get hot, man.
It's like everything, but especially in baseball.
Don't get hot right now. Seems really weird to say. Don't get hot right now. Yeah, just
they seem a little chilly right now, so I wouldn't mind a little warm up. Yeah,
that's okay. But you still got 2 weeks to get hot, and then get hot.
Yeah,
gotta get hot for at least that last final series.
Real quick before we move on, I also just need to shout out Devin Williams. I mean, he coming off of back surgery, it's always scary losing him when you did unexpectedly. Then second shout out, Trevor McGill just carrying the entire bullpen.
I was gonna say, like, what about McGill's being a stud?
I know. I mean, I think there was like 3 blown saves in that stint that he covered for Williams. Like, just a guy who, the Twins didn't want him. He just seemed like another scrap pitcher on the pile, and the Brewers, another just amazing reclamation project. I mean, anybody that looks like a high school bully and can throw 100 miles an hour is somebody I believe in. And he's been great. I mean, Devin Williams, like I said, coming back, just looking absolutely nasty. His stuff is filthy. It's elite. You want to talk about the only ace? He's the only ace. The problem is that you only use him on the back end of the roster.
Right. So, I don't think you can say that. If you don't start the game, you can't be an ace. But he's a stud.
No.
They're both studs. And I love it.
Yeah.
You know what else I love, John?
What do you love, Josh?
I love when I say something and then it happens. On episode 1 of Don't Tell Me How to Fan, we had just found out that Jordan Love was going to be out for some amount of time. And we talked about what happened with the Packers game 1. We talked about his injury and how long it was going to be. We talked about how all the Twitter doctors said, well, based on this, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, I know what they're going to do if he's out 2 weeks. I know what they're going to do if he's out 17 weeks. What I don't know is what are they going to do if he's out 4 to 6 weeks? Right? That's going to be the hardest thing is if he's out 4 to 6 weeks, that's going to be the toughest decision the Packers are going to have to make, figure out. And then 24 hours later, this is what's going on with Jordan Love. It's an MCL sprain. He's going to be out 3 to 6 weeks. And I went, boom. This is easy. This is exactly what we said. The Packers are going to have to figure out what they're going to do because you're not going to piss away the whole season. Now it's survival. What's the best way that they survive until they're going to get Jordan Love back? Right. And so then it was figuring out, all right, do they get someone else? Do they just run with Malik Willis? What is this? What do the Packers end up doing? Now I'm hearing things that it seems like it's going to be more towards the 3 and less towards the 6.
Yeah.
In terms of Jordan Love sitting out.
Yeah. You knew it was going to be a good thing when 2 things happened. They didn't immediately put him on IR. If you thought he was going to be more than 4, you put him on IR. There's no reason not to. The other thing that was great is Tom Pelissero came out and said that everybody was feeling super confident almost immediately. The minute it was diagnosed as an MCL sprain, they were like, yep. And guess what? They do not think it's going to be long.
It was just like, oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Because we talked about it in episode 1, but these games, and the more I've thought about it, are especially winnable. The Colts,
yep,
are gettable with an okay quarterback. Their cornerbacks were suspect before the injuries of Justin Blackmon and I forgot who the other guy is.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because I'll tell you why. I've heard so many people say that, right? Because when you look at, all right, let's say that Love's out 4 games. You say, all right, well, can we win 2? Can we win 2 of the 4 that he's going to be out? keep us in it. Didn't help that the rest of the NFC North went and won in week 1. So, a lot of wins in the ones in the W column for everyone but the Packers. I don't know. When you look at the Colts, right, you go, well, this Packers team can beat the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Can this Malik Willis Packers team beat the Colts? I don't know that. I didn't see enough from Jacobs and the defense that made me go, yeah, even if Malik Willis is throwing the ball half of what Jordan would have been, this team's going to find a way to crush the Colts. Like, I didn't see that out of the rest of the team, keeping in mind that Jordan played the whole game, right? He literally played all but 5 seconds of the game. I didn't see that from the rest of the cast. And so unless the rest of the team is planning on stepping up and showing me more than what I saw in week 1, I'm still nervous about any game that this team is playing while Jordan's out. Because Jordan Love, your quarterback, is the most important piece. Ours is out now. And I saw the people around Jordan struggling when he was on the field. So I'm still worried about that. I'm not going to just say these are easy opponents for the Packers and they have a chance. I mean, obviously they have a chance, but I got to see more out of Jacobs and this defense. This defense is going to have to be the defense we were promised and we heard about in Love's absence.
The Indianapolis Colts gave up 159 yards to Joe Mixon in week 1.
Okay.
And I think the Packers can do the exact same thing. I think Josh Jacobs is good. We've talked about, I think, reviewing the game, looking at it further, man, our offensive line was bad in the first. I think. Yeah. So, we talked about it. I just, listen, I would rather have Jordan Love be playing this football game. And it sounds like.
What?
I know. It's
a hot take, John.
It's a hot take.
Yeah.
But don't tell me how to fan. I want him playing. But let's be realistic. I think Matt LaFleur is saying he's day to day. The window's still open. There's a possibility. Malik Willis is in press conferences just being like, yeah, I'm just preparing to be ready if my number's called. I think that's a whole hell of a lot of misdirection. If you have the Colts spending a non-zero amount of time thinking about Jordan Love, then you've already done the job. Here's what I'll say about Malik Willis. He was in the same division as them all the years he was in Tennessee. This is not an uncommon opponent for him. And I understand that it wasn't the most exciting, but it's not like he's having to go face somebody in the NFC South who he's never seen before.
Sure.
And 2, I think Matt LaFleur can scheme him up. I don't know. Call it a hunch, call it a feeling. I think Malik Willis was terrible in Tennessee because there was not a support system to have him excel. And I think the Packers don't make the trade for him if they don't think they can use him. And I think they can use him. And I think this Colts team is gettable. And if they end up losing, fine. But I don't think it's going to be some bloodbath. I don't think the Colts are this incredible team. I think if you can...
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that the Colts are this incredible team. I'm saying that I don't think the Packers necessarily have shown me enough for me to believe that they're going to go out and beat the Colts. I think that it's still going to be the whole storyline is still going to be, if it would have been Love, they would have won the game. But because Love wasn't there, they lost. I think they're going to lose 24-17.
Damn.
And I think that's going to be obviously I hope I'm wrong, but based on what I saw in game 1, that's what I'm thinking it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fair. I'll say this. The Packers shot themselves in the foot. We already hashed that out. I think if there's a lot of bad mistakes they can clean up. And if I do, I think you feel way better about this team, win or lose. And that's the kind of stuff I'm watching. Right now, you're right. Without Jordan Love, it's hard to assume the Packers can go into any game and you can feel super confident. But what I can say is there's plenty of stuff that we can see. I want to see Jordan Morgan start at right guard because Sean Ryan just isn't it. And I like Sean Ryan coming out of the draft, but Jordan Morgan is more athletic. His hand positioning isn't as abysmal, and he's just not losing at the point of contact the way Sean Ryan was. I think that if the Packers defensively start sending more pressure. We need to see this defensive line eat. I want to see Edger and Cooper play 50% of the snaps, if not more, because it's obvious that they need a guy like that to QB spy Anthony Richardson. The dude is an athletic marvel, and I just don't think we can assume that we can just slap the same game plan, because I mean, Shane Steichen is running the exact same offense the Eagles are running. I mean, he installed it and then left. So, it's a good opponent to play a week after the Eagles because they're not as talented and they do similar things. So, right. I mean, if you can't figure out how to scheme around it, then
it will allow us to see if this is a huge glaring hole in this Packers team or not.
Yeah.
And honestly, I really hope that, obviously I hope they win, but if they lose, I really hope that the conversation it was just Malik Willis, right? The problem was Malik. Because if the problem ends up being that Malik Willis played great, but the defense ended up blowing the game, can you imagine that storyline? Can you imagine that being the case? That'd be awful, right? That'd be way, way more depressing. These games as a fan are, can this team survive until we're back at full strength? Whenever that is. And there's no problems on the defense. Jordan Love never played a snap on defense. So I expect the defense to be better than what I saw against the Eagles.
They better be, because they gave up a 80-yard drive and ate up 5 minutes of the clock in the fourth. It basically killed, they looked like every other defense we've seen in Green Bay for the last 5 years. So
which was super depressing.
I mean, the way they're talking about it, do we see Jordan Love against the Titans? Do we think this is all smoke and mirrors and he comes back for the Vikings? I don't know, but
I don't know.
I'll say this. If he's only out for a game, that would be very cool. And it's a hot take.
Don't rush him. Don't rush him back, though.
Yeah.
Don't rush him back.
Yeah.
And I think looking at this in a week-to-week analyzation is good. Is look at the rest of your situation too, right? If Malik Willis and this Packers team can find a way to win 2 of the next 3 games and you're a game back in the division, that's great. That's a great outcome when your now highest paid QB was recovering. If you're finding yourself down 3 games in the division after week 3, then maybe you're having, a little bit more of a, Jordan, can you go? How are we feeling today, buddy? Conversation. But so I'm completely fine with them taking it week by week and just looking not just at how he's doing, but how the rest of the team is doing and how the standings are played out too.
Yeah. We were definitely crunching the numbers on how much we could lose and still be in the playoff picture on a 6 to 8 week timeline. So if he takes the full 3 weeks to recover, I don't think we as Packer fans, and I'm not telling anyone how to fan, but I just think
don't.
I would just say
John.
A healthy amount of perspective. I think we'd be coming out ahead in the old debit and credit ledger, as it were. But I don't know. Yeah. So we'll see. It's
so prediction time as we wrap things up with episode 2. I'm thinking it's going to be a Malik Willis realization, 24-17 Colts. Your thought?
Yep. I am going to say Packers.
Homer.
Yeah. Packers over Colts. I think, and here's why. Because I think the run game is going to be the thing that opens up the pass game, and they're going to really scheme Malik easy throws out into the flats, yards after catch, just let tight end screens, just let the offense that Matt LaFleur runs, one of the best schemed offenses in the league, do their thing, and then I think we see more aggression from Halfley, and I think the defensive line really comes to play. I'm going to say right now, that Rashawn Gary gets 2 sacks in this game.
Ooh.
That's what I'm going to say.
2-sack game for Gary.
And because of that, I think the Packers win this game 31-24.
Okay. 31-24 for you, Pack. I'm going 24-17 Colts. I hope you're right. for the record, just so that everyone knows. In this scenario, I'm cheering for John. Okay, I don't always like to be right,
and I'm rooting against Josh like I did last
Good.
week in our fantasy.
Yes,
football
but you
matchup.
won by less than a point. Yes,
Less than a quarter of a point, honestly.
Great. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Yeah, a loss is a loss. Doesn't matter. What does matter is that the people watching this, we had almost 500 views on the first video. I couldn't believe that. If
Thank you so much.
It's on there. It's like it'll be below this one on your YouTube feed. But we do appreciate it, and we will never tell you how to fan. And make sure to tune in next time because we're not done yet.